so much.
Yeah, how are you?
All right. You look bundled up. Is it cold out there?
What is scooter today?
It's a scooter.
Happy birthday. That's where I vote. So
It's not stapled.
No, it's only one.
Oh, okay.
It's not that.
so that we have to.
All right. I think we're good going. All right. We'll get started. Welcome everyone to the Peirce LSC regular meeting. My name is Matthew Kwame. We'll go ahead and do introductions, but we want to welcome all of you for coming. Before we get going, I'd like to go through our norms real quick. So throughout the meeting, we pledge to be an active, engaged, contributing participant by sharing perspective and actively listening to others. Be flexible and respectful of others' time and decisions. To be open to other people's truths and perspectives. To be reminded of differences in cultural and social backgrounds. Be transparent about concerns, challenges, and understandings. Be reflective, collaborative, and supportive. Always take the work back to student achievement. What can we do to make things better for our students, both academically and socio-emotionally? Respect student, staff, and LSC member confidentiality unless there's a threat to safety. Meetings should be paused if LSC members or meeting participants experience harm due to their identity, including but not limited to gender, sexual orientation, race, etc. The harm should be named. Understand that not everything has a right now solution and trust that the process is ongoing. With that, we'll do a roll call. Matthew Kwame, parent rep.
Lori Zini, principal.
Bridget Vivian, teacher rep.
Megan Topa, teacher rep.
Oliver Danish, parent rep.
Sonia Brown, parent.
Lamont Lynn, community rep.
Eric Oakson, parent rep. Lake is flying, won't be around. Raki has a class today. Nicole is in another meeting that starts right now. She'll try and make it. I haven't heard from Adolfo or Adrian.
Adolfo is out.
Okay.
I'm not sure about Adrian.
Yeah. All right.
It's not going to get a good grade.
Let's see. All right. So the first order here is the approval of the order of the agenda. So I make a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Second item meeting council approval. The first one is allowing LSC members to join the meeting remotely. Nicole said she may ask that we do that if she can't get out, but I mean, I'd like to make a motion to allow members to join the meeting remotely.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. We have a couple of other items to approve in terms of minutes and leasing agreements. First one is the minutes from November 6th regular meeting.
A motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next one.
Do we get the December one as well? Remember what
Was that one December?
we did that one off.
That was the special meeting? Was it December 5th? I put November 5th here. I did it wrong. Okay. That one, I don't think that we have distributed that, or did we? For the special meeting. It was just that one item. I'll take a look again, but I don't, my apologies. I had that here November 5th, for whatever reason, December 5th.
So that would be,
The special meeting.
it would be a correction of the minutes of this meeting. It's still valid. The motion for the minutes is fine. It's just-
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
That's
so you
right.
mean
Next time we'll need to
December.
add that to the.
I just need to correct these minutes.
Minutes from,
December 5th or 6th?
I have it December 5th. Please keep me honest on the dates.
All right.
Check real quick.
December 5th.
Okay, thank you. I'll add that. Until we add that.
I don't think we've circulated those minutes.
For December 5th, we did not, but November 6th, we did, right? So to Oliver's point,
So we haven't looked at the December 5th ones yet.
that's right. So I'm gonna add that to the
Next month.
items for next time. That's right. Okay. Next year, so Lori sent a couple of items in terms of leasing agreements and fundraisers. First one is the approval of leasing agreement for camp convention.
Endorse that one. We did it last year. It was great.
This will be our first year with camp convention.
What was last summer? The first week, there was it was innovation. That was last summer. There was something the first week of summer here. No, it was hosted at SEN. SEN hosted
Camp
it.
convention has been hosted at SEN.
Yeah, it was advertised here, but then it was hosted at SEN.
Yes.
So this year it'll be hosted here?
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
It's good.
It's like
I just realized I may have copied the wrong agenda.
5,
I copied the wrong agenda. I think.
this looks pretty good to me.
I read that.
What I have here looks fine. Yeah, I'll give you.
It's fine.
So far, what I'm reading
Yeah,
is consistent.
yeah.
Good? Okay. All right. So again, I'd like to make a motion. Well, actually, it's you.
Yeah, I can make a motion to approve a temporary leasing agreement with Camp Convention for the week. June 16th.
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. Next one is approval of February 22nd Girl Scout World Thinking Day leasing agreement. Is that date, like,
No.
I heard a few, okay.
Yeah, so Girl Scouts had initially reached out to me and asked if they could do a temporary leasing agreement on February 22nd. This morning, they reached out and asked if it could be changed to March 1st. Historically, last year they did not host World Thinking Day, maybe the last couple of years. It's been a little while since it's been hosted. It would be on a Saturday. They would give fee to the school to cover the cost of custodians and an external group coming in to use our space, and they invite different Girl Scout troops from around the community approved by the LSC and real estate. So even if it passes the LSC, it still needs that second layer of approval. So I'll make a motion to approve the Girl Scouts use of Peirce for Saturday, March 1st.
Are we sure it's March? Okay,
That's what you can.
all right. So I was thinking maybe we could just say for a Saturday as approved by the principal and then just leave the date out of it, that way you can work it out.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, we could do that.
I think that makes sense, because like I said, I came in, it's the 22nd, right? I was told, not sure. Okay. All right, so the motion will be to approve leasing agreement for Girl Scout World Thinking Day on a Saturday, sometime in the future.
Let's just say a Saturday as coordinated by the school principal. Just, unless there's a rule against being that vague, I'm
Yeah.
happy with it.
Sounds good.
You're okay.
Okay. So Lori motion in a second. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. Next one, approval of February 7th PSO Valentine's Day Dance fundraiser. That's still on?
So PSO would like to host dance for pre-K through 8th grade students on Friday, February 7th. I will make a motion to approve their fundraiser, where they will be selling corsages for $1 and online fundraising for free pizza. An online fundraising to pay for pizza that would be for free for students at the dance the week of February 3rd through 7th. All profits would go to FOP to support school programs and more community building events. So if there's funds raised beyond the cost of the pizza, they would give the remaining funds over to FOP.
I'll do a second.
Good. All in favor? Thank you. This is for the fundraiser and the lease agreement.
Then I'll make a motion to approve the PSO's temporary leasing agreement for the Valentine's Day dance on February 2nd.
I'll second.
Eric, all in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. Move on to the next item. We'll skip the next one. Adrian's not here. We have now a student representative as part of the LSC. He's usually here to gives us a report. So we'll skip that for this time around. Next one, principal report.
So I had emailed the principal's report out at the end of winter break. So I should have had a lot of time to review this one. I was trying to get as far ahead as I possibly could. Just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight were that I did host a State of the School presentation on November 13th, which was after our last formal LSC meeting, which was a very short one because I was not able to be here. But I linked the presentation in my report so that you all can access it, and it was emailed out to the community. The CIWP team met on December 10th to do a quarter 2 check-in on our school improvement plan. And we noted that all of the action steps and milestones are on track as planned for completion. We will be able to look at the middle of the year student benchmark data at our at the end of January. STAR testing is happening this week, and then some students will continue to test early next week, but the bulk of the testing was today and tomorrow. And then we'll be able to review at the March 6th meeting the progress towards our performance goals as we work for our priority 1 on curriculum and instruction. I met with the PPLC on December 5th. We also met yesterday, which doesn't have a report on that. But after the 20th day enrollment, the school received an additional $8,740 based on student enrollment to the school. With the recent retirement of Viviana Andrade, who was serving as a computer teacher along with supporting the tech management of the school, we have been interviewing but unable to find a candidate that we would like to invite to join our team. And so my recommendation in the PPLC approved this is to reallocate the $8,740 to create an additional purchase order with the district's tech vendor, R.L. Canning, because then they can be on site more frequently. That would then supplement some of the work that Ms. Andrade was able to triage between now and the end of the year. We will need to think about what the role of a design teacher for 6th or 8th grade students, and the tech management will look like for next year. But for right now, the design classes are completed among the middle years program, and so we're just focusing on the tech management aspect. And so we'll do a formal vote on budget once we get to the budget section after the principal's report. Another recommendation that I'm making is to temporarily close the tech position that Ms. Andrade was in, because what is currently happening is after Friday, we will no longer need to sub that position out so that our 6th through 8th grade students have design classes. The design semester will be over because we have not identified a candidate. My recommendation is that we close the position so that we don't lose funds for that position. And then if we find a candidate, we can then reopen the position. But if we don't close the position, the salary each week that's not used would go to a payroll salvage line, which we have no access to. So that's the district just getting those funds. Whereas if we close the position until we find a candidate, we then will have those funds sort of like in a reserve that we can choose to allocate at any point in the school year for either like additional position, or if we can find the computer teacher, or like allocate towards like student materials. So in last year's budget, we had like very few dollars available. So that's something that we can determine what the need is for that pool of funds. Like I want to at least try and screen resumes for another month before we make a determination on what to actually do with those funds. So we'll be able to vote on that when we get to the budget as well. And if the team doesn't, if the LSC doesn't feel comfortable voting right now, we could table that vote. But then my recommendation would be to schedule a special meeting before the next LSC meeting so that we don't go too long with those funds just going to a payroll salvage line. Behavior data, I also wanted to highlight. We saw a huge improvement from last school year to this school year in terms of the metrics that we set goals for in our school improvement plan. Historically, we've seen an over referral of students of color from the classroom for dean support. And so we set goals in our CIWP where we had 63% of escalations for dean support were students of color, which includes Asian, Black, Hispanic, multiracial. Our goal in the CIWP was to be less than 45%, but our CIWP's goal is not actually accurate because 51% of students at the school are students of color. So I realized that as I was looking at the numbers, so as a CIWP committee, we will need to review what our goal is. And do we just want to focus on Black and Hispanic students, or are we including Asian and multiracial students in our definition of students of color? Because they are students of color. So that's like one thing that I wanted to just highlight. The other is we have, and this is towards like right above domain 2, like in this section here. What we saw this last round of review is that students with IEPs account for 16.4% of the school's population, and 20% of the referrals were for students with IEPs, which is a huge decrease in referrals with students with IEPs. When our CIWP was written, I apologize.
I thought I had that here. I didn't bring it.
Our goal was that we would have less than 34% of our referrals for students with IEPs. And so we see that 20% of the referrals were for students of IEPs, which is 14% lower than what our goal was in our school improvement plan. So we made huge progress in that particular domain.
This is cumulative?
This is cumulative for school year 25. Students who are English language learners or English learners account for 19% of the school's population, and 7.2% of the referrals were for students who are English learners. So that was like a huge decrease. Like we're not seeing a disproportionate percentage of referral for students who are language learners at our school. Black students account for 6.8% of the school's population, and 7.2% of referrals were for Black students. Historically, so this is where our goal was that we would be less than 45% of students of color are referred for students from the classroom. Percentage of Black students historically was significantly higher than 70%. So we are more in line with the percentage of referrals being in line with what the school's population is. 29% of the school's population are, per CPS definition, Hispanic students, and 34.5% of the referrals were for Hispanic students. And so we saw an over referral there of 5%. One student was referred 10 times from the classroom, who is also a Hispanic student. So that data is also, because we're looking at like individual referrals, not students individually. So that sort of shows the percentage of students that are referred, even though it is still an over referral of Hispanic students. We just wanted to clarify that was one student. And then multiracial students account for 9.9% of the school's population, and 7.27% of referrals were for multiracial students. And then this should be 48.9% of the school's population are white students, and they accounted for 36% of the referrals. So we've seen a decrease in the referrals from the classroom, and so we've made, again, progress towards our school improvement plan. We think that some of the changes are that teachers are now more likely to report white students, whereas in the past, those students may have been given a pass at similar behaviors to other students. Our work with equity training, we see making a difference in the work that we're doing as a school as it relates to acknowledging bias through the referral process, and then the ongoing review and reporting of data to the staff and to the LSC, I think has made a difference in terms of how we are reflecting on our work and the practices that we're employing within the classroom. Switching gears, the other area that we've made huge progress in is within student voice. So we held our first student voice meeting on December 16th, which brings together students from the Genders and Sexualities Alliance, the Black Student Union, local school council rep, and student council leader representatives were part of that meeting. That meeting focused on how we define student voice as a school, and then student groups were the historical work that's happened at Peirce with student voice, and then students were able to share a report to the rest of the committee on work happening in their smaller leadership spaces. The next meetings are scheduled for February 3rd, March 3rd, and they will continue to meet on a monthly basis. We also, Mr. Alvarez and Mrs. Wong were able to formalize a Latinx affinity space called Raza Unida, and they began meeting in December, and they will have a representative at the February 3rd student voice meeting. We are also in the formation of coordinating for one of the action steps in our school improvement plan to hold focus groups with students who have who have gone through the school's discipline process to understand their connectedness to the school and their own personal experiences with the school. So those focus groups should start beginning within the next month. Aramark was on site and hosted a taste testing experience for students during the lunch hours before winter break. And then, as I mentioned, Ms. Andrade, after 34 years of teaching, retired as of December 2nd. Ms. Gableman, who's a pre-K teacher at the school for quite, I think about 20 years or so, has accepted a pre-K teaching position at a school closer to her home. Marissa Spooner will be joining the pre-K team as of January 21st. And then Lisette Plaza, who's our sixth grade language arts teacher, is currently on a leave of absence. She just recently had a baby. And then Tracy Didrikson, who's, who helped us last year with a similar position, is rejoining the sixth grade team until Ms. Plaza is able to return. And those were the things that I wanted to highlight. I can take any questions at this point.
It's not a question, it's just a comment of how difficult it is to be able to quantify all the data for discipline. And how do you group each set of kids, and is it just by the CPS reporting the demographics, or is it like other means? And then how do you associate that with discipline? It seems so incredibly difficult to try to get all of that exactly right. And I don't think it'll ever be measured perfectly, but the end goal, right, is to just find out, is there something that's unfair?
Correct.
And make sure that we're right. But even then, just, is there a pattern to why certain people are disciplined more than others? And have we even measured that it's truly one group being disciplined more so than other, or is it just a statistical anomaly of how things are categorized in the demographic report? I don't know, but I think the end state is the same. We just don't want anyone to have to be referred for discipline, but we want to make sure that it's being fair when it is.
Correct. So we've actually seen an increase in referrals, but we're seeing a decrease in the disproportionality of which groups are referred. So we believe that statistically speaking, our data should mirror our student population.
Yeah.
Ideally, we would get to the point where we have no referrals, but we also don't want to see that only certain groups of students, that we only have our eye on them, and we're ignoring behaviors of other students. That's not the message that we want to send. So we don't want to not refer. That's been a message that I've shared with staff. It's not about not referring, but it's about making sure that if we're going to refer this, then we should also refer this. It should be that we maintain the same standard when we're referring. When we're looking at the data, specifically this data is on escalations from the classroom to the restorative practices coach. This data is not looking at journals, like general journals. In our CWP, we didn't write that, it's just general logs that teachers are indicating. I have included that data in my monthly report because initially, people were journaling, but not escalating, even though some things were being handled by the restorative practices coach. So I asked the RP coach to go back. I showed her what the journals were, and I said, which of these have you actually been involved in? And then asked her to go back and have teachers reflect that escalation, because it really was an escalation. So she was able to work through with teachers to clean up the data so that it is more accurate. So at the very end of the report, you'll see the journals and then the escalations, because there are things that happen in the classroom that we need to have a record of, but it can be a classroom managed behavior. And then there are things that do need assistance outside of the classroom.
So I have a question on this graph that was provided, or this table. So it seems like, just looking at it, it seems like October, there was 8 escalations, November 15th, and then there was a huge increase, about 260%, to 55. And I see the note here that there was some, cleanup,
Yes.
of journals entries. So I guess to his point, to be more accurate with this data, would I be able to, even though those journals were in a different month, kind of place them in the ball correct? Because now it seems like the numbers looks pretty skewed.
So this data is cumulative.
Okay.
And so, yes, in October it was low, and I was concerned that it was so low because I knew that we had more than the 8 escalations, which is why the team went back and cleaned it up. What you see for December is cumulative data from the beginning of the year. So it's including the 15 and the 8 from October and November. So that means that there would be 32 technically new escalations from November 1st to December 20th. But some of those also came from October and November from the cleanup.
Okay. And then how does this add up? This 55, because I was trying to add up these numbers below, like from different groups, and just the math.
So you want, some students have an IEP and
English
are an
learners.
English learner
Okay.
and are.
Oh, so you can't, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Fall into 3 categories, but it's one person. Sorry, I had another thought. It's not anything that I want to derail everything we're doing, but I'm curious on the economic side. And I think it's something that we couldn't even attempt to collect data on in this year, but maybe in like a future year. It's purely a curiosity. How does that tie out if you go to like family income? And do you see like a completely different report, or does it match up the same way?
research has said that economics does not like impact the referrals. There isn't a direct,
Curiosity. And the
yeah,
same
there isn't a
thing for-
direct correlation between that.
So I know we've got a lot of students that come from other districts versus students who live here, and I don't know if there's a pattern like that. Again, the end state is the same, to just, be fair to everyone and be honest to everyone, and it's just a curiosity of, what happens if you look at the data from a different lens. But I don't want to request changing anything. That would undo so much that's already been collected, but, if there was another year, it's like, what other lenses are there? Does it actually matter? I don't know the answers to any of those.
And then out of curiosity, so I'm seeing the footnotes here, so it says about 50% of all these escalations seems like they're coming from 4 students. Is that, am I reading that right?
Where are you looking?
That other page when you flip, where it says 26 escalations were made out of 4 students, or for 4 students. And then 33 escalations were made by 3 different teachers. So it seems like there's a huge concentration of those 4 students accounting for 50%.
Correct. And so from a behavioral health team, when we're seeing like one student who has referral after referral after referral, there's an issue that we then have to employ like additional support, because it's clear that the current level is not enough. And so that may come through behavior plan, it may come through a referral for special education services, referral 504. There could be a variety of reasons, so we try to understand what's at the root so that we could then partner support. And where we're able to be effective in coming up with a plan, we're able to see a change. So for instance, that student who had 10 referrals, we've seen a huge change from before winter break till now, and like a significant decrease in the number of referrals.
I have a question as well. For the 33 escalations made by 3 different teachers, are those teachers, is that to a specific grade or a specific classroom? Is that a specific course that those teachers are teaching that are getting these escalations?
Yeah, so I remember one being a primary teacher where we've been supporting that person with different behaviors that we've seen happening in the classroom. So we see it from different ways, the student behavior, and then how do we support and develop teachers? So that's one thing as we're looking at those trends. And then the other is from an upper grade student. And so then is it similar question, is it support for the teacher in developing them and their ability to manage? Or is it development of a plan for the student? Because clearly there's a disconnect, so we have to figure out where do we need to support. And so that data then tells us we need to really hone in these spaces.
And I guess that is the statistical question that we're not reading here, but is the student that has a greater number of referrals, is that the teacher who's making the greater number of referrals? Are they in completely separate worlds?
Yeah, are they
or is it the
separate?
same teacher, same student, or is it
I assume it was the same.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so.
it's not like a classroom all the way on the other side. There's one teacher that's referring every single kid in their classroom one time.
No, so one teacher had multiple referrals for different students.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm
That's
asking.
what you're trying to
Yes.
get at.
That's what I'm getting at. Is it,
There's one teacher who
Is
makes
there-
more referrals than
Yes.
anybody else.
yes, like, so we have three teachers, three that are averaging 11 apiece. And how many teachers do we have on site?
Yeah, there's 70-something teachers, 76.
Yeah, so you have three that are, in the, I guess, 33% there. So is that tied to their curriculum or is it tied to their student base?
It depends, it could be one or the other or both.
Each one's a different case.
Yeah, each one is like a different scenario.
Okay.
And then the thing that we also get concerned about is when there are issues, but the person is not referring. And so sometimes teachers are also handling a lot in the classroom and they're never asking for help. And then there are like student needs that maybe do require more attention. That person has done such a great job of just managing it. When that kid goes to the next teacher, they will sometimes struggle. So we want accurate data even when a teacher is managing it in the classroom. Sometimes they're managing more than should be.
Those are good questions. Is there one teacher that just can handle a particular student very well in a way that none of the others aren't? Or is it just, it's reading and, this kid will never misbehave in the library because they love the library, but as soon as they get to the art room, they're gonna lose their composure.
And
I don't know.
certain people just have different talents and different experience and they can cultivate a different environment.
Right, because it's the exact opposite too, whereas it doesn't matter what the environment is, but there's a teacher who's just really good at handling and they can handle that student in any environment, or is it the student that can behave well, but in certain environments they'll never behave? And that's a giant thing to try to tackle, and I don't think any of us can get every single one of those details right. There's a lot. There's a whole lot in this. I'm sure there are people who make PhDs just on this. And as long as we're working towards the same point, which is trying to be fair to everyone and honest to everyone, some of it's just going to be.
Are there any plans on ways that you can go back, figuring it out? Because I feel like it's definitely, like you said, this can get really big, but it's definitely some disconnects going on, and I just think that sometimes it gets this possibility of biases in this, the things that are getting reported, opposed to the things that don't get reported, and then you put it into numbers, it can look really, it's scary. I'm just concerned with this anyway. I mean, of course, we won't get perfect, but we can get to a place where we can progress this. But are there any plans on how that's gonna look like? What things gonna be done to make sure that, things is not biased or some things just don't get reported from some kids, and then there are other things that do get reported, and you put it into numbers. Sometimes it won't make sense to parents looking at it. It's very confusing, and
Yeah.
I would just really like to know where they get it, because I try to be around the school as much as I can. I'm the eyes, I'm the ears. I mean, granted, it's cold now, so I don't get here too early, but when it's warm, I'm outside. I know I see a lot. I know my eyes are not the only ones that see a lot of things. I try to go on most of the trips. I learn things. I see things. I'm only one person, but I'm just saying, like, I do know that some things get missed of being reported versus a lot of things that don't get reported from certain kids. And sometimes get biased, like if you got this kid that's always doing things. I think it really gives them it's like the table is already made for them, because you got so many reports on this kid and no one's really figuring out why is that disconnect there? The teachers can be, well, this kid's already in trouble anyway, so they'll just assume it's the problem. The kid is a problem. If that's what keeps following certain kids, that's what's going to be in a lot of heads. They won't say it, but it'll definitely be there, based upon their past. And sometimes, I don't know, things just don't get reported, and some of these kids just get left out or get, treated different because it wasn't fairly reported.
Yeah, so, yes, so what you're saying is correct, there's like multiple layers to all of this. This is one data point of like a teacher referring things that they see as problematic. But the student experience varies in many different ways, from student-student peer interactions on things that they just try to manage that never even is told to anyone. They're just managing things as well. And then things that like teachers may see but don't report. Yeah, no, it is complicated more than just this data.
Yeah, and like you said about some teachers may be better at certain whatever case. I think that sometimes people behave different with different people. It may not be that teachers are smarter, have better skills. I think that some people deal with children differently than others, and kids can feel that. So they know when someone's really being fair and trying to, help them, opposed to some that may not. So it's gonna make these kids resist when they already know, and kids probably see more than us. They're the ones who's actually sitting in class with these teachers, and I don't know, it's a lot.
And I think you get into the other part. I mean, this is the, like, trying to find the data, but the other part is the sitting down with the teacher or with the student. That's separate from this report. Is the report finds where there is a certain problem, but the report doesn't have the second part. And I don't think that is part of this report, but.
So this is where like our focus groups with students to just, hear from some students. What is their experience with the school? Their feeling of connectedness, their sense of belonging. Those things are important for us. We also know that having some of our affinity spaces in place are also spaces where some students are feeling more connected to the school and able to share their experiences. We have the research studies that we had engaged with Northwestern in over previous years that gave us some of that qualitative experience of students and families and staff at the school. And so those have all been pieces that have been either derived from the Northwestern research or helped us inform some of our work as a school.
I think it clicked here, right? And when you said there was a student who had more problems before the break and less problems now, I think that's the kind of thing that maybe you're looking for. Is that, what's that story of how did we get to that point? I don't know if that's part of the report or anything, but they said, all right, there's certain areas that need improvement. And we don't want anyone to just be the statistic on the piece of paper that says we're in trouble, we're in trouble, we're in trouble. It's, this is somehow something happened to get improvement. I think that's what we're all working towards at the end. And I don't think that's the format here, but maybe there's just, another line or another chapter in a report that's saying, this is how we were successful in ABC. And I think he spoke a little bit to it, but maybe there's just a way to.
So I shared the behavioral health team data in the email, and that some students would be included in that data in terms of number of students that are receiving support via the behavioral health team, and the types of supports. So that's where, when we're seeing some of these issues, there's generally, majority of the time, some type of connection with the behavioral health team. And so then data would be shared there, not on individual students, but as a cumulative.
And the other part is we're not social workers, and this isn't that working group. So there's a certain amount of information we're not reporting purposely. But at the same time, I think it's just a matter of everyone showing that there is improvement, and then having it presented in a way that everyone's comfortable that we've identified something and we've fixed it, or we've identified it and we don't know how to fix it, but we know this is a thing that we need to fix. But he can only get so much with a chart of numbers counting things.
Data. And I know we have a agenda to go through. I don't want to hijack this whole thing, but
Yeah, sorry.
Can it just? I want to get an understanding of what's the difference, or what's the whole process, like journal entry versus escalation versus teachers reporting, students complaining or reporting other students. Like, what is the?
So journals are entries that the teacher would make.
Okay.
A journal can't.
What is that though? Like,
That
it's
goes
just-
into our Aspen system. So it's our data warehouse for student information. Some journals are then escalated.
okay,
So
why
when we're,
some? Like,
because
what
some
makes
things,
escalation?
so it could be that student is not attending school regularly, so I contacted the parent. Or there was this problematic behavior, but the behavior was a classroom managed behavior per our like discipline structure. So like, students shouted out in class. That might be a behavior that the teacher wants to record, but that's not something that requires like another person to get involved with. That's like, we need to manage that at the classroom level. Student has shouted out in class every day, 10 times in an hour, and it is severely disruptive to the class, is something that would be escalated because this behavior is significantly interrupting the learning of others. And so that's where like the teachers, we have like our discipline guidance for teachers on things that should be escalated. And so those are things that a journal that a teacher is entering should be escalated. So they all go in the same place, it's just what you do with it. Does it just sit there as an anecdotal so that we can have a record to go back to, or is it something that someone else needs to be involved with? Students may report things to a teacher, the teacher enters it into the same system and then escalates it. Some things might be a student report something to a non-classroom teacher, that still gets entered into the system, but may not be considered an escalation because it's not done from the classroom level. It's just like an administrator would have like been involved in handling that. A parent could also like notify the school of the concern.
Everybody, sorry, I'm late.
Thanks for joining.
Can we blame politicians?
Yes,
Thank you, Katie.
I am concerned about time.
Yeah.
Just because we have our agenda, but I know that, some things.
Yeah, I think we
are
can
not
move,
required
yeah,
time.
some of that's gonna be quick. So, yeah, we can, just one real quick thing, I can bring that up later on, like I get the escalation, for students of color adding up. It's not doing the same thing for escalation, so we can talk about that, it's not important, or not critical. Any other questions, any comments before we go to the next item? All right. Budget,
So I will make a motion to approve the internal accounts for September and November. I think in the December internal accounts, you will then see the transfers in and then out for the Friends of Peirce donations to the school for the different line items that they had allocated. But that is not showing up in September and November. So I'll make a motion to approve September internal accounts first.
Second.
discussion. All in favor?
And then I'll make a motion to approve November's internal accounts.
And I'll second, yeah.
All in favor? Thank you.
So for the budget transfers, which are next, I've listed some of them at the end of the principal's report.
Yep.
One of them is this transfer of like funds for field trips. So as students pay for field trips, we then have to move them into a budget line to be able to create purchase orders. So those are the first two budget transfers. The third one is the approval for the Friends of Peirce funds that were in our internal accounts to go to pay for arts partnerships. And then the third one is for the movement of the $8,740 from our 20th day adjustments to be able to create a purchase order for additional time with Arl Canning to be on site for tech support. So I will make a motion to approve all four transfers as just noted.
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you.
The next thing that I would like to make a motion on is to temporarily close the tech position until we can identify a candidate so that we do not lose funds to a payroll salvage line, and so that we have access to those funds to either reopen the position or to reallocate those funds at a later date.
Just a question, is that C for other on the transfer funds?
Yes, all of these are under the other category.
Okay, all right, that's just as I'm writing, am I putting it under item B or item C?
They would all be C, because none of these are with federal or state funds.
Okay,
So are we able to use those funds to address this tech support?
We can,
We can.
yes.
but the point of it is to just take the unspent payroll and have it not go away. So the unspent payroll can be held for later.
Correct.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, so second.
All in favor? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public participation. We do have a sign-up sheet. I'd like to welcome our guests.
I'll sign up, but no one else is
Distinguished-
going.
What's that?
I said I'll sign up. if
That's
no one else is going.
that's fine. Hi.
May I?
Yeah,
Hi.
of course.
Hi. Just a couple of thoughts as I was hearing, the discipline data discussion for consideration, not for response. Don't need a response now. Don't respond. Don't take it as responding. I'm just really curious about ideas about how parents can understand like school-wide expectations and support for experiences and expectations in classrooms. So I think that's like a lot of what this conversation was getting at. And if LSC members are digging in, I imagine that a lot of parents have similar questions. And I'm new to the school, I've got a kindergartner. I've heard a number of questions across like kindergarten teachers and other teachers about just like, what are the expectations? How does that happen in classrooms? What is my child experience? And what are the parallels or carryover at home? So that like we can share language and or I just like understand what's happening. And so I'd be curious at like a school-wide level for families, how that could be shared. That may open up conversations then with teachers and parents to engage in. But at a school-wide level, I'd be curious about that. And then beyond, I think, you know, I understand where this discipline data chart came from in the CIWP process. And I think it had some probably really great roots and intentions. But also just to echo, like understanding more what support is available for the students that are highly referred and the teachers that are high referring. I just want to like underscore and appreciate that part of the discussion. And then also like potentially hear more about like what we're wanting to see. So this is like quantitative data, it can only take us so far, right? But what are we working toward, and how can parents in the LSC and different folks like understand what this looks like when it's working really well, so that like we understand, right, like what we're collectively working toward and understand if like our kids are experiencing that, and if they're not, how can they engage in conversations on their behalf or in their classroom or whatever, to kind of like, because the classroom is a community, right? So how does that get jointly established? So just appreciation for the conversation that's been happening here and curiosity about how we can like expand that to other parents and families in the community. Thanks.
Thank you. I also checked in the Peirce LSC mailbox and not seen anything come through, or whether today or earlier.
So we're under 10 minutes, we've saved time on that item.
We're cruising.
Try to be quick.
We're about to cruise some more. Next one, community group reports. I'd like to thank profusely FOP, PSO, REP, and on the other end, BAC for sending their reports. I think there's a lot of activity, as you saw, both meetings that they're having and activities or events that are being planned. So on behalf of the LSC, I'd like to thank them for all their work, and there's a lot going on. So thanks for that.
It definitely helps doing the minutes when they're submitted ahead of time.
Yes, yes. Community reports, PPLC.
So, excuse me, so we've had the November, December, and then yesterday PPLC meetings, and generally, we will be looking at the CIWP. So yesterday's meeting we took priority one and kind of deep dived into it, looking at areas of strength and the growth that's already happened, and then thinking about considerations for next school year. So our plan is to do like priority 2 and 3 next month, and so forth. The other continuous thing that we look at is Skyline, which is a CPS platform for math and science. Some of the components for the MYP upper grades had missing links, so getting a running list of units where teachers are missing materials, and then reaching out to those in CPS, which has been done with what we have currently, to try to get some answers on when these materials might show up or where we can find them. So those are the big, and then approving the transfer of funds for additional tech support. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Next one is back again. Thank you for sending that the summaries. Those are very helpful. Equity committee.
Okay, I'll start. So Lamont and I are co-chairing Equity Committee. We've been meeting monthly. We have planning meetings in the field house after drop-off. And we've been planning for our first equity forum, which is coming up on January 22nd, next week. We're really excited about this and this new format. For those of y'all who don't know, the Equity Committee has new bylaws, and in those bylaws, we're hosting 3 equity forums a year on various topics. This is the first time we're doing it, and the first topic is going to be Black student success. We have the Director of Black Student Success from CPS, from the district, coming to share the work that he's been up to, and any resources that he has for our school. And Principal Samey and team will be presenting on a lot of the Black Student Success initiatives that have been put in place over the years. And it's going to be a great opportunity to learn about the work that's going on, learn about the opportunities and resources from the district, and hear from the community about the vision moving forward and what folks would like to see more of, or new things. So it's a great starting place in conversation. We sent around an invite for that with some kind of resources to reference kind of in preparation, being like the CIWP and the state of the school. So hopefully folks will take a look at that to kind of be prepared for the conversation on January 22nd. We've had some great planning meetings and we're excited. So that'll be in this space after school at 5:30. And the other 2 forums that are on the docket for this year, the other 2 topics are parent groups. So asking our parent groups to come with equity plans, and then also student fees, which has been a hot topic, that's come up multiple times in this space. And so we'd like to kind of be able to dive into that topic a little bit more. With an equity lens. So that is what we're kind of planning for the rest of the year. We have scheduled our meetings and our forums for the whole year in advance. So those are on the calendar. They're like the LSC, they're open meetings, so everybody's encouraged to join. And we also have kind of changed lowered the barrier to entry to serving on the equity committee. We're just like taking rolling applications, inspired a lot by the back process. Folks will come to the meeting, speak about why they want to join, and then we can vote on it if they want to join. So that model has really helped us gain members in the equity committee. So it was dwindling down to maybe 3 people in recent times. So we're good. What do we have, 7 or 9 members now?
Yeah, I think it's 9.
Yeah, 9. So yeah, we're 9 members strong, and in our bylaws we say we'll take up to 20. So we encourage people to join if they want to serve. So and kind of an unintended consequence of the new format of the equity committee has been people interested in the LSC, and I do feel like we're somewhat creating a pipeline of parents who might be interested in running for LSC in the future, because sitting on the equity committee, learning Robert's rules and things like that help kind of prepare you for something like this. So something I hadn't really thought about, but I'm really excited about, especially considering we only had 5 people run for 6 seats last time around. So creating that pipeline and getting that interest, I think is going to be great all around. So anything else to add, Lamont? A shout out to Lamont for making an awesome flyer. I didn't know he was a graphic designer until I saw that.
I am not, but save the date is out. I created a little bit of like our own logo. It should be out. Our Google survey is on there as well, so parents can fill out pertinent information, or if they have questions, they can go there until, I guess that was that Monday, just so that passed.
Last week.
But yes.
Oh, this week.
So with that being said, please check your emails. Yes.
S'mores.
When will you be able to send the questions to help us think through? like,
Yeah, I was
how
just
to
thinking about that.
answer?
We'll do that today or tomorrow, yeah.
Thank you. Next item is principal evaluation. Lori sent out the link to the new format. So the plan is to have the final versions of the surveys ready for approval at our next meeting, so that we can actually have the survey in flight during the month of March, at which point we can start, tabulating the results and then have that conversation for ratings and submission in April. We have until May, but we don't want to do May this time. Yes, we are. So I'll be following up with everyone on that in the next couple of weeks. Old business. I put their update on the sports. That was a public comment from last time.
So I had reached out to the sports department. The concern was that there's currently a cut practice on some sports team. I talked to Mr. Carvajal, who coordinates the athletics department, and then reached out to the district, because part of the challenge at Peirce is that we're a large school with a lot of interest, and we are unable to meet the guidelines of the CPS sports program, in the sense that we have way more interest in some teams than we are allowed to send to the weekly competitions. And so that is what has created sort of this cut practice. And the district said that they are unable to allocate additional funds to larger schools. And so we can continue to only send like whatever like the maximum number of students is. And so this is like a financial issue, but then like the way that the program is organized issue that puts the coaches and the athletic director in an uncomfortable position, because they are implementing a cut practice for some teams because they have to. And so I don't know what the solution is right now, but it sort of like validated the experience that the parent had communicated. The coaches can't have just like a large number of students, because we can't bring all of those students to these Saturday games. So it is a challenge.
What's the financial piece of that?
That they only allocate for like 10 students to be able to, for instance, 10 students, depending on the sport, to come to a Saturday competition. Some schools can't even get 10 students, where some schools might have 40, but you're still limited to that 10 student. And so you only have like maybe 4 or 5 Saturday games also. And you have to have a pre-planned roster that you're giving to the group like that Saturday morning. And so like what's happening is that you've got so many students sort of like saying they're interested, but you can only bring 10 students to these games. And so what's happened is that like some students are invited to practice, but cannot attend these Saturday league games, because we can't bring an unlimited number of students.
Is the cost associated with it like a bus or something, or?
No, it's their organization of how they're partnering schools to compete.
Okay.
And then,
CPS score program. It's their program.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, right, if we showed up with 40 students, there'd only be 10 for them to play against. If
we
it
would
was
only
10
be
out of
able
10.
to, we would only be able to have 10 students on our roster.
Like you can't even have
But if we
more.
found a way internally to solve our part, it wouldn't solve the CPS part, because there still would only be
Correct.
another team with 10.
Correct.
So at the end of the day, the system is set up for this many students and we have more in the system says you just can't have, but it sounds like the first objection is the system also says we're not supposed to cut anybody at this grade level. So how can you not cut anyone, but you have a limit on the number of people you can have? Yeah, so clearly we can't fix the CPS level, but I don't know if there's like.
But I think you're not cutting, you're allowing them to participate.
Yeah, but the student feels
However,
like they got cut. Yeah.
The 10 will have to make the team, right? And so you're not saying you cannot compete for those 10 spots, right?
But I think that's part of it. If you're competing, then the student who's got the most talent wins. Like if there's 4 games a year, then there's one student who got to go to all 4 games and someone who got to never go to any game when the purpose of it is to get everyone a chance. So I don't know if, like, let's just say there's 40 students and there's 10-person teams and there's 4 games, then you've got 10 groups of 10 and everyone gets to go to 1 game. That might not be the team that wins at like the, I don't know, the regional level or not. That's the one that everyone gets a chance. I don't know.
Part of it at the 5th, 6th grade level, they've changed it, so everybody goes the first 40 minutes, they do drills, and then the last 20 is scrimmage. 7th, 8th is different because it is more competitive because then they're going to high school and some do play there. But yeah, I mean, it's CPS's core program. I've been in the district 18 years and every year it changes, so. And this latest one, the 5th, 6th is the new program, that the kids are bummed that they don't get more scrimmage time when they're on Saturdays at 7, so.
So it sounds like we can't change the CPS portion. And I don't want to spend another 30 minutes because everyone, has other things to do tonight. But maybe there is something just within the Peirce level that can provide students an opportunity that maybe they don't leave the school, but every student gets to do something. And I don't know what that is, but we can address programs here within the level of funding that we have, but we can't change what's out there.
I mean, you coach.
I do.
Like, what do you see out there? Like, what's like based on what?
I mean, I
We're
think
talking
the
about-
struggle, in all honesty, the issue is probably more with the boys' sports, because more go out. The girls, I guess the last 2 years I've had larger numbers. So, and a lot of girls it's their first time playing, so they do show, because they want to do better, and they want to learn the game, and they want to learn the rules. So then the next season, many of them do end up making the team, the competitive team. But I think in general, it's just the way that score has been set up and it's changed. This is the new year with the 5th, 6th. 5th, 6th was competitive last year. It changes. Do I think it will change again? Yes, I do, especially with all the feedback that they're getting. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, after school, the kids are playing pickup. I think, yeah, but I think it's unfortunate just that CPS doesn't allocate the money, because Peirce, we used to have 2 teams, boys and girls, we used to have 2 teams that would go compete on Saturdays at Sen.
Yeah, we never ran into that
We
issue
didn't.
in the past.
So, yeah.
So have you given them a feedback? Like, what I'm thinking is taking it to the high school level where usually there is the varsity team, which is the best, let's say 10, and then you have the, what do they call it? The GV team, which is the next best team, I guess, and sometimes they even have a third layer.
Freshman,
The
sophomore.
Right. And so giving them a feedback that, hey, perhaps we can bring 2 teams and the other schools play team 1 versus team 1, and then team 2 plays versus.
I think what the problem is the logistics.
Mhm.
Like Peirce can be blessed with having 40 or 50 kids, but then you have a team school that might only have 6.
And yeah, even in high school,
Yeah.
I mean, it happens, you play private
It's
school.
happening now in high school, yeah. That's true.
It seems like in situations like this, the parent voice can sometimes be like the more powerful, right, than coming from the administration. So I don't know if we know what the ask is, like the
ask would be to allocate, the ability for us to send more students on Saturdays.
Okay.
But even if we did, who would they play against?
Yeah, just to
We
see their
still
eye
have
and watch the
that. Still
other play.
You can play the same team, you play another team. But logistically, you're there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So
On a Saturday?
on Saturdays, depending on when you play. So I don't, bringing another team, I think it's because of also space. I mean, you're there all day on Saturday, technically, even with 2 gyms over there. And the year before, we were all at Sullivan, so, I mean, space.
Mhm. Yeah, even for high school, I mean, the kids have to be there, they leave home at 10. We're actually just talking about that. We don't make it back home until 5. And depending on the kid, they maybe played 6 minutes, right? They were gone the whole day. So
I think there are 2 points. One is parent voice to CPS. Parent voice, there's 1,000 families here, but that's, a greater voice. But then there's, whatever the programs are internally, maybe, we've got, there's multiple pickup games here in school, but only one of them gets to go out to the CPS world, but everyone gets to play here. And we can't solve it now, but I think it is worth, a
Well, they
discussion
do
at
get
another
to play
level.
here, if they choose to keep showing up in their practice games.
So everyone gets to play here, it's just CPS doesn't have the ability for everyone to go.
Well, if there's someone to call and email, I think, yeah, you could share that with parents.
and again, I think it's going to boil down to whether they can actually honor that request. Like, where would it be? How many meaning that another 3 of her to go? Like, where are they going to go? Where it's complicated.
So how can they have a no-cut policy though, but then say you have to cut your group down to 10? They're just contradicting
I feel
themselves.
like that no-cut policy is like, you can practice, but eventually you have to pick a team.
Okay,
They cannot tell you, you're not allowed to play the sport.
sure.
Yeah. Thank you for that, and
Yeah.
thank you for the work that you guys do, because I mean,
This
it's,
is, the
it's really
coaches are not
important,
paid well.
right?
They're spending like these full
Love of the
Saturdays.
sport.
They're like very minimally compensated as well.
Yeah, that's what one of the coaches, the basketball referees, was saying. He prefers doing high school because even that for a shorter period of time is getting paid more. But he's like, they're shorter basketball games, but if it's softball, baseball, he's there all day and he's not making as much money as he is from a 30-minute performance instead of 2 hours.
What sport are you coaching?
7th and 8th grade girls basketball.
The private leagues are all volunteers.
Mhm.
It's even harder, but you're only there for 1 game. So you volunteer to coach a single game on a Saturday. I can't imagine being there the entire day.
All right, moving on to the next item. We had added that outreach to school board members. The school board met for the first time today, I understand. So I don't know what we
They were, I
want
think,
to do
creating
here.
the agenda today for their next meeting. Wasn't it like an agenda creation?
Yeah, kind of like organizational meeting. So, yeah, I think this one I don't really have. Ideally, we'd like them to kind of let us know what's going on, but if they don't themselves know what's happening, it'll be hard to do that. So
I know that they've engaged in different briefings from like different departments in the district to get an understanding of the district.
Got it.
So they're in the learning stage right now.
Do we want to invite them for like a tour of the school or something?
The school board?
Yeah, our 2 new
Well, at
like,
least
representatives,
our reps,
Ebony
the
and
2A and 2B.
Debbie.
Maybe. I mean, we do like the Friday tours. I mean, they can join one of those also.
Yeah. Or host them to speak, I don't know.
I mean, from a parent's perspective, it'd be nice for them to let us know now that they're there, what are they going to do? That's really what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, they're there now.
I get to know them, hey, you're our representative,
Right.
you should know us, you should know us.
That's really good.
We can invite them to the Friday tour.
Mhm.
Should we do it?
Do you want to invite them?
I can. Okay.
They haven't reached out. I'm also like,
Which is odd.
How long will it take them to reach out?
I mean, it is hard because my point is another volunteer position, so hypothetically, every one of them is doing what we're doing. What? And how many hundreds of schools do each one of them represent?
No, I mean, those, what did they have, 18 schools? pull out for
It's more.
That's weird.
for us, 2A and 2B. I think it's
Oh, there's only 18 in that
18 or
district?
20 or something like that. Some have like 46 or upwards of, yeah. One has, I don't know, 46 is what I saw.
I mean, I know it's not all schools, but on the facility side, CPS has over 500 properties.
The next item here is Cleaner Act statement request. That's something that that I asked Racky to follow up on. I think if it's okay, we'll push that to the next meeting.
I don't think Rocky will be here for the next meeting, will she, or no?
I think so.
She
Okay.
should be, but either way, like, even if it's communicating back on what that is.
And that parent came to the equity committee.
Yeah.
And we talked about it briefly. I think they were gonna like send us kind of what that ask is and like the status and
Got it.
everything, but maybe
Okay.
Rocky knows more.
Very good. Yeah, so we'll follow up on the next meeting. Next item, new business.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. So we'd like to, so I don't know, maybe a little bit of background, kind of let us know, brief introductions and
Yeah.
just kind of go through
I
that.
can speak, or you can speak.
I'll speak briefly and then.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
Margaret Miser. This is Adam Crawford, who owns the understudy at 5531 on North Clark Street. We've been working on a liquor license since, I
June,
think,
I think. Yeah.
summer, actually, and have passed all inspections, everything else. We're like within a few feet of your rear
The corner of the
park.
playground.
So the city does its due diligence, and we are here to explain, Adam will explain their business procedure and then things we can do to work with you. We'd love for you to support this business and that getting a liquor license, which Adam will talk about.
Yes.
And, but we would seek your support, and we'll follow later with how we're gonna do that as well, but.
Yeah. Thank y'all for letting me be here. This is like that TLC show, How It's Made, but for a school. So I'm having a lot of fun. I'm also, have been since we've opened, a huge fan of Peirce, and I love watching the parade of drop-off down the street at 8 a.m. So I love being near this community, let me say that. So I'll speak to y'all on a granular level because I have gotten to watch you talk at a very granular level. And really this piece of getting a liquor license for us is in response to the fact that people love to spend time at the understudy in the afternoon and the evening. And we don't have a lot to offer them, which practically means we are keeping the doors open to hang out with folks, but not making a lot of money doing that. And so we want to add this piece, likely without changing our hours in the immediate future. We're open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday it's 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So as you can imagine, people are buying less caffeinated drinks later in the afternoon, even though, like I said, people love to meet up and make plans. And, you know, we're a theater bookstore, so people are doing full design meetings, they're pitching presentations to each other. We have a lot of fun, but we're not selling a lot of coffee in the afternoon. So what we're trying to do is incorporate a program that just has the same focus that the coffee shop perk focuses on. I always say our work is about celebrating the hard work it takes to make beautiful things. So that's direct trade coffee. So we'd be doing maybe a very small selection of single origin natural wines, that sort of thing. We'd have to do an espresso martini, of course, because we've got a great espresso machine over there, but a very limited menu. And like I said, we're not looking to change our hours or anything. We do some after hours events, and that's something I'd love to help support Peirce in some way as well. If there's ever any opportunity with friends of Peirce or anything like that to host an evening meeting there, I think that could be one great way to augment that. But again, most of our time is going to be spent with doors locked by 6 p.m. So I'd love to answer any other questions about that.
One of the things that we had talked about in our committee chair meeting is alcohol something that is intended to be drank in the space or like take and go?
Oh, yeah, drank in the space. We're not like a liquor shop. I think,
No packaged goods.
yeah, no.
Do you plan to have a patio outside where you're able to drink outside during, let's say, school hours?
Yeah, we have that sidewalk patio there already, and the way that the liquor license is, it would allow us to do that there. I'd like to think of that as an asset to parents here, that you're within sightline of the playground. But I think that that's something that we can negotiate as well, or figure out how we can be good neighbors to each other, let's say that.
And I think my concern is like student visibility to drinking during the school day when they're at recess.
I see.
And that was why my question.
Yeah, and so like within a restaurant, like for instance, Los Arcos, we supported their
Yeah.
liquor license. There's no visible sight line to the alcohol for our students
That,
because our patio is got like the fence, so you can't really see it. Whereas like with a patio outdoors, with the kids playing right there could be visibility to that.
Part of how a sidewalk cafe is created is you can't just come in. It's permit through the city public way unit. There's one way in only. There can be
they're very particular with
a host
the
there. You can't just come in.
barriers around it.
There are barriers surrounding, and there has to be a floor plan. Another issue is, or a guard at the door is, all staff can be Bassett trained. There's no way for somebody to get alcohol without an ID. Everybody would have to submit an ID. There's not a bar inside. There's a counter, so there's not like it's service walk up or table service or whatever. It's not a bar.
With regard to the visibility too, I think that we have these planters that form a barrier around the space. So we could probably, when it came springtime, I could talk to you about like, hey, can we get a taller plant to fit in here that's going to maybe mask that to some degree? If that is going to be an ongoing concern. But I also think, I don't know. I can see, like, it's more of a direct line, in my opinion, directly across the street to Los Arcos than sort of around the corner to our patio up the street.
Is your patio is not on Gregory?
It is on Gregory, but it's all the way up at the corner. So there's our building 5531, and then there's a public housing building, and then there's the playground.
And an alley.
Yeah, so the public housing building, this alley gangway space, and then the very far corner of the playground.
Right, but then like dismissal and like at 3 p.m. and then students leaving at 4 p.m., some kids leaving at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So like, just like even them walking by, like those are just things that are like on my mind that are concerning. Is like, whereas I know that there's many establishments on Clark Street that have like similar setups, but they're not directly like next to the school, and so students may likely be walking by some of those places, but it's not the volume of students. And
I see.
so I guess like the patio space is a concern. That actually was not on my mind until now. Mine was more like, how much are they going to be like take the stuff and leave, and
Right.
like, are we anticipate this to be like a bar experience where we have students, like coming and going in the area quite frequently? Like what could come versus a restaurant experience is very different.
Yeah.
You're not gonna like consume.
Well, I'll say,
Generally.
I think that, like I was kind of pointing to, we're not trying to change our service model. This is just trying to address what people are already doing, which is that they want to spend 30 minutes to an hour with us in the afternoon. So we are, first of all, I mean, getting everybody Bassett certified, I think, will keep us from letting people consume. We won't overserve anyone. But I don't generally see folks ordering repeatedly and staying and hanging out with us throughout the day. And I don't think that adding this on as an ancillary part of our business is going to change how people interact with us too much. If that becomes the case, I really have every intention of communicating with y'all and making sure that we can do something to address that.
I want to clarify what the concern is first. Is it children seeing someone consume alcohol during the day, or is it someone at 3 p.m. who's sneaky as they're walking past, reaching with their hand, grabbing something and keeping going? Those are two very different concerns.
It could be both.
And I just, because there's different ways to address them, and I just want to understand with, I mean, it is a fenced-in area, but whether it's fenced in or not fenced in, you have people, adults consuming alcohol on the same sidewalk that children walk by, and I want to just understand more of what the concern there is.
Can I ask a question real quick pertaining to that? When you're talking about your planners, is it like full wrapped, or would it just be like street and corner? Like, so I know you have your building,
Yeah.
sidewalk, table, so would it be that space?
Yeah,
Right.
as it is now, it kind of makes a wrap around the sides of the space. The city plan makes it very particular that you can only have one entrance and exit, and it has to be only 3 feet wide. I think practically, sometimes it's not quite that, but we can figure out how can we barrier this as much as possible while also not keeping people boxed into the space, right? Because it's a very narrow strip of sidewalk, honestly.
There are two other restrictions that are good for you. There are different kinds of liquor license.
Yes.
This is an incidental, meaning there has to be food available. It's not a bar, it's not a tavern, and legally it's not a tavern. So this is incidental to other activities. They don't have a bar you can sit at. There are small tables and chairs. So that's one restriction. But the other thing is called a plan of operation. So any concerns that you have are addressed in writing, and you enumerate them in detail. For instance, the sidewalk cafe, or anything like that, or anything that you have qualms about, hours, things like that. It's a written agreement that they sign it, you sign it. The liquor commissioner signs it. You review it, and it's agreement for exactly the concerns that you have that is even posted online. And this is for, a public way to address what they're allowed to do and what you've all agreed upon as neighbors working together. And they're sandwiched in other liquor establishments, but it's a public letter that you can see. Restrictions they have to adhere to.
So, right, incidental, just as a little bit more explanation, it's a limit, like, it has to be below a certain threshold of your whole business.
Mhm.
So if your business is $100, an incidental license means you're limited to $10 worth of alcohol sales. And I don't know the real numbers, but that's what that license is about, is it's an accessory to what you do, and it cannot define your business. And if it does, then you're a completely different type of business, a completely different license and everything. So when we talk about just general exposure, I see something like this as a healthy exposure, because this isn't a rave bar at 2 a.m. So children, as they grow up, are going to encounter people drinking. And whether they encounter someone pounding a paper bag on the train, that's a bad experience, and there's nothing we can do to stop that. I saw that today. Or you see their parents and their parents' friends in a responsible situation. So in my opinion, it's examples of responsible use of alcohol. I also, traveled enough around in the world where when I was in the Netherlands, there's a great sign that I remember that said, must be 16 to buy alcohol, 15 to buy beer, because beer's not alcohol.
But we also have to acknowledge that people have had different experiences
Yes.
with alcohol, and it's impacted different family structures in different ways.
Absolutely.
And so, that is something that, just like knowing that we have a building of 1,100 students, something that we do have to take into consideration. Because yes, we may want healthy exposure, but kids and families experience things differently.
So maybe it's an hours thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no,
Say it's not serving during dismissal.
Yeah,
Hypothetical.
that's totally possible.
But there are plenty of parents that, yeah, want to sit down in between things.
You had a question?
So I'm not familiar with any of the licensing and how does it work, but
Yeah.
maybe you can answer this question. You mentioned that your idea was to have a sorted wine list, right?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say sell hard alcohol or hard liquor? And then would you have any intention of selling hard liquor? Certain events, dates?
Yeah, so the license doesn't make any differentiation in Chicago, which I was surprised to learn. Practically speaking, one of the major limiting factors of the understudy is we have no space. So we kind of have to keep the menu very lean. Like I mentioned, we might do an espresso martini because we already are pulling great shots of espresso. I don't see us expanding into a full service liquor license. It's not logistically possible. So we could do a one-off special of some kind, maybe like some sort of matcha tonic or something. But I do want to just kind of re-emphasize the incidental nature of it, that we're not pivoting into doing, okay, we're doing liquor only afternoon or something like that. It is, I imagine, going to be a very small representation of our business on a day-to-day basis. We're not like serving anything that you come up and ask for. It's going to be a really short menu.
You can get a pulse for how people feel about it, like,
I say yes.
I say yes. No problem.
I'm on board with it too.
I don't think if you're really on the playground, as someone who's been out there a lot, when you're on the playground, because the alley is there and then the next building is there, I don't really think you can see it because of how far up it is. I walk that strip a lot because I get stuff at Jewel and I had your coffee. It's good there as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much you can see it, and I just don't think kids really pay too much attention to that. They're out there playing. And I'm talking about from the perspective of the little kids. I have had more experience with the little kids. They're not paying any attention to what's going on. And I think it would be great for the neighborhood, and you can have an inflexible and keep your doors open. It's important.
That's the goal.
Yeah, I would second all of that. I'm in favor of this, and I would just say, Adam, I think the understudy is part of the Peirce community already. Like, I mean, you can't go in there unless you want to have a bunch of chats with Peirce, families.
That's absolutely true.
Especially on Fridays.
Yeah.
So I think, we want you all to thrive and be here a very long time. And if this is going to help do that, I think, a lot of your customers are and will continue to be, Peirce families. So I'm definitely in favor of it. And we're so excited for you all and the success you've had so far.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
So the point of order, what's our agenda? We've heard the request.
Mhm.
I know there's a letter of support or no support, but we're not writing the letter right now. So is this, do we vote that we're going to make a letter, or like we've all agreed that the new business next month is going to be to say the letter that has been drafted during the month?
The LSC won't actually write the letter of support. The LSC is saying that we are in favor that the school writes the letter of support.
Okay.
I then need to get permission from network chief, which I'm trying to figure that part out right now. The legal department had said that this is something that safety and security, the LSC, network chief all have to say yes to, but that knowing the pulse of the council is an important part when determining if a letter of support should be written.
Right,
So we're not decision makers here. We're just saying, giving our advice and support, and then you decide. Basically, is the
Well, you would. I think there should be a formal vote that the LSC supports that the school write a letter of
Yeah.
support or not for the understudy to have.
So this is a resolution, it's not an action.
Mhm.
That's Robert's rules right there.
Okay, so we'll do
Is there a motion?
a motion.
It's a resolution. The motion is an action, the resolution is a, like, in favor of or of support of, but it's not, the council is not taking an action.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, the resolution is when you vote, but you don't take an action.
Okay, so the resolution is to voice our support for the obtention of a liquor license for the understudy.
Second.
We got 3 seconds, guys.
I owe Amon first.
It's time to go. All right. Any other discussion?
I was gonna say, I think it's good that you guys are here and have a relationship. If there is ever any problem or issue, I think it's good to be able
We know
to
you.
directly address it.
Yeah, you can find me. You know where to find me.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good that you guys are here.
Yeah, thank you.
Get ourselves familiar with you.
All right. Okay. All in favor?
I'm abstaining during this vote just because I need to then work with the district.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. The resolution passes. So thank you again for your time. We wish you best of luck. I don't think this is going to be a
Thank
problem,
you.
but
I do need it.
just in case.
It's a long process.
Yeah.
It has been, yes.
Very good.
And so I'll let you all know when I wanted this vote to happen so then I can then go and say, yes, the LSC has said yes, that I think will impact the decision of the other groups.
If there's anything you need document-wise, we'll send you along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't, you know what, I was gonna say, I'm not a drinker.
Yeah.
But I support you guys because I come there all the time.
I know.
And I love you guys especially.
Thank you very much.
I see you all the time.
Yes, I know.
The Loyola students, the Loyola University students love you guys too.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. That's very special for me. I do as well.
Have a good one. Next on the agenda is any items that need to be added to the agenda for next meeting. I put a couple of things here, the approval of the minutes
That's something I have.
from the December 5th special meeting, and then I did put it here, a note here to Racky follow up on that Cleaner Act conversation that we had. So you got a month, and you're good. It's not right now. Anything else that folks would like to add?
I'm wondering if we could just have a standing item about voting in new equity committee members, because I think we'll just like always have new people kind of coming and going.
Okay. All right, we have another public participation slot here. I'm not seeing anything come through since then. So I think we're good. Next item on the agenda
We
is,
got somebody
Hey,
else
Matthew,
with
I didn't put my
participation.
name down, sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I just wanted to speak as like an outsider in support of the understudy's liquor license. And as like, wanted to point out that Uwe, who does have a liquor license and a full liquor menu and a pull-up bar and a outside patio, does open up at 3 p.m. And although you cannot see them from the playground, like it is like a thoroughfare. So although you all are in support, it might be something to mention when you are talking to legal, that we do have another establishment and it has been like a non-issue for the community, at least that I know of. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do they have to go through the same process also?
Because there's not, like, their distance is different than
distance.
others. It's the playground that is the issue.
I love that word. I don't know.
Announcements.
But most Argos did have to go through it, no?
Announcements, comments, like,
So the LSC student representative position is an annual position. And so Jenny Gerhart, who is serving in the MYPA coordinator role, attended the district's training. She is going to be organizing the LSC student elections, so we'll be sharing that, the time frame for students to get the applications in, and then we'll do a school forum and vote. And the students will also elect a representative. It can be the same student who is serving, but it would be a current 6th or 7th grade student, because the 8th graders would be gone next school year. So that's coming up within the next month and a half.
And that will be to serve next year, next school year.
July 1st, yep.
Very good. Excellent. Anything else? I'd like to remind everyone that the Lunar Year Parade
It's right around the corner.
is coming up really soon. I don't have a float yet. I am behind on my fundraising activities. It's gonna be a problem, but we're hopeful that even if we don't have a float, we'll still be representing you.
We need a float.
All right. Okay then.
Can we just put some tassels on the moped? Drag that.
All right. I gotta live up to it now. They got 3 people in the float. Right. All right. Checking in on norms. Thank you again. Some of these conversations were very informative. I'm glad that we had the understudy over as well. And that we're all sort of like in the same zone or same vibe as far as that was concerned. That was my concern, that there were diverging opinions. All right. Next, motion to adjourn. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the week.
I think that like these time allocations can probably.
Okay, what do you want? Like 5 minutes?
Yes, my family.
Oh, thank you, I'm Jess. Are you a parent or? Yeah.
Budget.
Yeah.
I think this is like. Depending on so if it's like one item.
So I have athletes there as well. What's that? Yeah, well, I'll be in England.
Yeah. Do like, I can't go to a bunch of the meetings. They're really the afternoon, we make sure to go to the ones that I can go to.
I think we were going to try and check on where the legislation is, but I think there's the lady was at the meeting. She was going to send what she actually wants.
That's the goal. We're going to say, hey, give me some hot spots. Yeah. I typically don't like to do stuff, but I have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, if I do, these Asians, these four get to see the color, and they check every color. It works. I like to do the number of explanations. The only one that doesn't work. So if I take 10, 11, 38, 5, 43, I get that. I get the 43, I get the 74. I don't get the 132. The only way I can get to 132 is if I add the previous earners to the store. Like 1 plus 10 plus 27 plus 3 plus 13 plus 15 plus 7 plus 7 squared. The way I know it's not working is because here, 30 plus 69 is that was a while. Here, 36 plus 64 is also this works.
This should be.
That's what it is, which is the sum of these.
I mean, she can reach out to her.
That's right.
office.
But I don't get to her 30. So it should be that possibly, that's right, because if you take, well, the only thing that's off, there's two things that are off. Just these two at the bottom.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be 132, it should be 60.
Is when I divide 4 by.
Especially if they're
Oh, no, that's.
No, you want to divide it 4, that's right.
And that is.
That's right. So those work.
Yeah.
What doesn't work is the one at the bottom. So I think the number that needs to be down here is more like 52%.
Yeah, that's what, so it's a usually their website will say,
Because that's the sum of what's above.
which makes sense because like the 90, this is where I just look at like everybody in our one as a because 91, we want to like identify.
Realistically, 91 makes sense. The one that doesn't make sense is the one below it.
It's like really.
Yeah, that's what tell like say,
Yeah.
hey, it's
The 52, right? So it actually matches.
But we can't.
So the only thing is just these two numbers.
I don't know, I wonder if I could, I know there's. Usually on some it's fine. So this is done in Excel.
Yeah.
Matrix has-
No problem. When he brought it up, I was like, no, that one I can explain, but one that I can't explain.
That's the flowing is August.
That's what happened to us.
Where's
Very.
Because all they're done with that principle before technology can use.
That's what we would have done for quarter 3 and 4, is that students would select those. And you have
So there were questions about, as three students, or three teachers. I have more than 30.
No, I'm
I don't know about that.
So in the past, for grade 4 students could choose from one of 5 classes, it's like elective.
Got it.
Per MYP ID guidelines, we don't need the tech elective.
That
Because
was-
we have
that
not
was-
found someone that can do it in an we don't want to just hire anyone, so it's not, kids are not going to be happy about this. Because they do.
And then like,
Next year.
and then a lot
Next
of
year, I'm
guys-
hoping we can still do something. So this is where I am, so
A lot of
like,
escalations,
what does next year's budget look like?
a lot of
I
escalations.
don't also want to just hire anyone, because then I'm also needing them to. I don't want that to happen to somebody. So
That was,
Right, like,
that was part of
that
that
can come
question.
in
Why
Just say sorry.
those were
and
outliers.
just like work with us.
I was like, yeah, we're doing that now. You know what I mean? But like,
Because like we could possibly
They
do a
went over
technical
like this
position,
resources.
and then somebody that functions as a computer teacher or design and tech elective, which is only 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
But then do like intervention
Roles.
for the other half.
oh, I'm gonna.
Now they